Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Ronsley, and today's episode of My AI Love Affair has my dear friend, Amy Yamada. She is easily one of the most important pieces in my artificial intelligence journey because after a conversation with her, I landed up playing with AI and the back end of OpenAI, which made me write Flow, the program, which got me deep into artificial intelligence and made all my computer science background and degrees and coding background come to life. Now, we talk about how to personalize AI. We talk about how to give AI your own human touch. Amy is well known across the entrepreneurship world as a coach that helps people with their heart-centered approach to entrepreneurship. She is amazing, and I love that you're here. Enjoy the episode. Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to this podcast, My AI Love Affair. Consider this podcast your digital compass, guiding you through the labyrinth that is business growth using artificial intelligence. Running a business as a creative can sometimes be like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. But what if you had a secret tool that could align all the colors for you? That is AI. It's like a master key unlocking multiple doors. Thanks for being here. Let's learn. Amy, so let's get started with when you talk about who you are to your audience, how do you introduce yourself and what results have you been able to get with AI since you started adopting this?
Well, great question, because for the longest time, one of the main things I've been known for is messaging and deep connection and knowing how to truly deeply connect with your audience with your authenticity. So even before AI, I've always been such a big believer in speaking your truth, using your voice, using your life story to make the biggest difference in the world. And especially as entrepreneurs, I think we can really be impactful that way. And with AI coming in, initially, I had some resistance to it because I'm like, just the letter A for artificial, it's like, oh, it's fake, right? It's fake. And at the same time, I decided, I'm going to give this tool a chance because I've been hearing great things. And as soon as I started really playing with it and testing it, it has been incredible. And so now I'm speaking all the time on AI. I'm speaking into humanizing AI. And so it's only been in recent months, really, where people have said, well, you're the expert on humanizing AI and bringing in the authenticity and the heart-centered conversation into AI. And so that's really what I have become known for.
Yeah, it's fascinating how you've taken and built upon your unique messaging, right? So you're known for messaging and then you've kind of built upon that now. And I love the way you introduce yourself. So let's get into some of the results you've been able to get since you've adopted this. Give us a timeline idea on when you got involved. And then what I would love to hear is what kind of impact has that had on your business, from time saved, money saved, opportunities created? You mentioned a few speaking things just now, but like if you could encapsulate that, that would be amazing.
So it really has been just within the last couple of months. I dove into it. And when I really saw what was possible, I thought, gosh, I can really leverage this in my business. I could also help a lot of other people leverage it in theirs when it comes to the authenticity and messaging piece. So check this out. I had a workshop coming up within 2 weeks, right? I was going to speak into creating consistent cash flow and VIP days, some things that I've really been focusing on over the years, because a lot of people come to me for that. They're like, high ticket sales, high ticket experiences. I love all that stuff. But what if I chose to talk about ChatGPT in this workshop? What could that look like? And so I just decided to tweak the promotion and include ChatGPT as a part of it. And my opt-ins went through the roof. I was like, what's happening? And basically I still use VIP days because I wanted to transition it, but I thought, okay, how to create and sell high ticket VIP days and leveraging ChatGPT to create all your promotional materials. And just by adding that bullet point and that copy in my promotional campaign, the opt-ins went crazy. So for me, it was a big deal to have over 500 opt-ins within less than a week without any paid ads. That was incredible. So that's the first thing that happened. And then the show up rate was, we had anywhere between 160, 170 people, which was okay. I tweaked the workshop. And then as I was getting close to the workshop, I'm like, normally I do a CTA to book a call, and then we find out who's a fit for our higher ticket offers. And that's how we fill our mastermind. But I thought one morning, after this great workout, I just had this moment where I was like, I am going to offer a 30-day program called ChatGPT for Coaches. And for the first round, I'm just going to charge $1,000, like irresistible, no brainer, easy. I'm just going to do this and see what, I didn't know was going to happen. I know like 5 people would sign up or 20 people would sign up. And we had 67 people sign up. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's just incredible how hungry people have been to leverage this tool. And the feedback that I got was, even those who've been studying it or using it for a while, they said, the missing piece is what you're teaching, which is the authenticity and the heart-centered piece.
Yeah.
And so I was just lit up because that's what I'm most passionate about.
What I want to encapsulate here is how much you've taken the universe download and your skills and run with it. Because I think a lot of people could potentially think of artificial intelligence as you got to be techie to understand it. And you don't have to be techie to understand it. You just have to be a better communicator is probably the big thing that, and we'll probably get into that. But when you talk about what you've been able to get, congratulations, by the way, you've done amazingly well. A whole over 500 opt-ins, 67 clients, and all that from a couple of months of work. Not a couple of months of work. It's been 11 years of doing stuff to get to this couple of months of work. And I want to give you credit for that. So what else comes to mind when you think about this journey that you've been on adopting AI?
To me, it was just about trusting myself in that moment and not being attached to any result. It's like, well, I'm going to try this because I believe so much in it. And something that I love, like in just the journey of life. And as an entrepreneur, it's like about deepening belief in yourself and building belief in others, right? It's like beyond marketing and sales and tripwires and funnels and all of that. It's just like, okay, if I believe in this and I can see how it's helped me, then I believe that I can convey that to others to see if it builds belief in others too. And so it just, to me, it was about like really trusting that intuition and then going all in on it. And so, and then my partner, Ken, who I know you've got to know as well, he and I just started to geek out on it. Like we went really deep with it. He really inspired me with all the research he had done in it. Started creating this guide that initially was just going to be behind the scenes for me. And then we talk about it. And then I started adding to it and we started geeking out on that. And then we thought, well, we should have just used this guide for us. Let's share it with my clients. Let's share it with my audience. And it became, well, at one point it was like over 70 pages. Like we got into it and then we got some feedback. We leaned it out a bit. So now it's a 45-page comprehensive guide that isn't just a list of prompts. It is really thoughtfully put together to truly embody what we now call the heart speech model for AI. And it brings in what I've been teaching for a number of years in this other way, and then bringing in like how to bring your, like truly your authentic voice into AI. So we created the guide. We've had, again, over 500 or so downloads of it. And it's like, we've not even done anything with it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure once we spread the word more, then I imagine that more people will grab it because we decided to make it free, even though we were like, good charge for that. So that's happened. And then since that workshop, even a little bit before that, because once I started including ChatGPT on my posts and whatnot, I've never had my phone blow up as much as it has. Every day is like, what's going to happen today? You know, and I get invited to your podcast that I've interviewed on multiple podcasts. I've been invited to speak to coaching groups and mastermind groups and a group of commercial realtors, which is not my audience, but the piece that they wanted was the authenticity piece. It just keeps going. I mean, everyone's like, oh, I need to get back to that person. Like there's so many partnerships now. And I'm pinching myself every day because it really started with just an idea of like, I'm just going to do this. And now it's like, and so now we just wrapped up our initial 30-day ChatGPT for Coaches program. We've opened up the second round that we're doing a second round of this. And then the first group, like, well, what's next? And so we decided to open up the AI Collective, which is an ongoing program for those who want to be on the forefront of it. So people are starting to step into that. So it's just, I'm trying to keep up with myself, you know, and it's like awesome. And I'm grateful for my team and collaborations because it's all about the relationships.
It is all about relationships. And I love this piece primarily because podcasting allows you to use your voice. And it's one of the things that I think in general, growing up through institutions and different ways, our voice has been suppressed. So podcasting for me allows that voice to go out, and it's our voice. It's can't get more authentic than that. But then leveraging artificial intelligence on top of that and before that is so powerful. And I'd love to get into the geeking part of it in a second. But before that, what I wanted to ask you is, what are some misconceptions that business owners might have, or like maybe common ways of thinking that maybe because you've been in this and helped a lot of people in it, you think that we probably don't need to worry about that, or we need to worry about that? Some ground rules like AI according to Amy, what would that look like?
Yeah, I would say to not just use it for productivity. I understand it's so productive, right? It's so resourceful. I mean, if you think about right now, I'm sure some will be listening to this when this is even outdated, but right now, as we're speaking in this live experience, Chat GPT is based on GPT 3.5, right? It has access to 175 billion parameters in its database. It's so resourceful. It's so efficient. And if we only use it for its resourcefulness and its efficiency, then we're just focusing on productivity, which on one hand can be so helpful for being more productive. But if you're using it for content, if you're using it to amplify your voice, your authentic voice, then do the work on the front end. Like do the work where you actually bring your authentic voice into it. And I can share how we've been able to do that in our heart speech model. That way it's not replacing you. I know the fear is like, robots are coming, right? They're here to replace us. And there are jobs that are being replaced. Let's be real. There are roles that are being replaced. And I'm such a stand for not letting it replace who you are, right? It's not
Right.
here to take over your voice. It's a tool for you to empower, to bring your voice into it and then use it for productivity. To me, that's the number one thing.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. What has changed in your perception of AI since you first started implementing it? Like, what has the evolution of Amy looked like with respect to artificial intelligence?
Yeah, gosh, it's so funny because I'm so grateful for my partner Ken because he discovered it before I did, right? He knew about it before I did. And he kept nudging me, and you gotta check this out. It's like, all right, let me just show you. Right. And I was like, okay. And he just did a quick demo using Chat GPT. And I was like, what? What is this? I was freaking out. I was stunned. I was stunned by what it could do in such like in seconds. And he was giving me a demo of copywriting. I have a background in copywriting and marketing. I worked in the media for 15 years before I launched my business 11 years ago. And so I'm all about copywriting and content creation, all that. I've hired copywriters. I've invested a lot. And in just a few seconds with a simple prompt, a copy was written. So my mind was blown. And I was like, give me that. I started playing with it. I'm like, how do you do it? And we just started playing with it. And every time something would happen, I like the input and output, I was like, oh my gosh. But also there were some things that I didn't like about it too, right? So I was impressed by it, but then there were things I didn't like about it. It sounded too much like a robot. It sounded too bland. When I would input something, it just felt dry. And so I thought, well, I don't want to use this if it doesn't sound like me, because I am my brand. I am the face and voice of my brand. And I'm also someone who speaks into messaging and authenticity. So it's completely out of integrity for me to use this if it doesn't sound like me. So that's when we decided to dig a little bit deeper
Yeah.
and think about, well, how can we get this artificial thing to get to know your voice? And that's when we really got into some cool shit.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, we got this now.
You mentioned copywriting at the start. How would you give advice to a business owner that's listening to this for the first time and kind of going, I want to consider implementing AI? Like, how would they approach it? Like, what kind of business operations or processes would they target first to get like an ROI on the initiatives of using AI?
For sure. Well, when I think about an essential part of business, with my background, it is marketing, right? So what elements of marketing are you using in your business that take a lot of time, money, and energy, right? And so copywriting or content creation or whatever form of communication you use, social media posts, blogging, articles. I mean, we must communicate in order to attract clients, right? So I know every business is different in terms of the business model and what platforms they use, but there must be some form of communication. And so what are you using to create that communication? Are you sitting down and writing it? Are you hiring a copywriter? or a content creator or a course creator to write it for you? Are you spending time cutting videos? Are you sitting down thinking for hours about what's the title, what's the tagline, what's the theme of this thing that I'm writing? How are you communicating with your customers on a regular basis? I mean, like I said, I just spoke to this group of commercial realtors. And so while they're not my target audience, I know they use it for their proposals and for prospecting and whatnot. So just about like, what do you spend time on when it comes to communication? And so one step, actually, as I'm thinking about it right now, is like you could make a list of all the different ways that you communicate as a repetitive task. So if you make a list of all the things, and then how much time, money, and energy do you put into each of them? And what if you were able to do that in a fraction of the time, investing a fraction of the money, and then start with one, right? Keep it simple. So something I've said to my clients who most of them at least use social media or email marketing. So I'll say, okay, let's just try it with writing email copy. Just that. Just start there and play with it and understand how to have it sound like you. And of course, I'm walking them through the steps to do that. So that we just focus on one thing at a time, keep it simple, and then actually use it instead of just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. It's kind of like scrolling, right? It's like, just stop and actually put it out there in the world. And that way you're able to start seeing your ROI on it as well.
Hey, AI Geek. Thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI Geeks by going to aigeeks.co/Discord. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI geek. Until then, much love.